Pizza guys, girls, does your shop have a no delivery list? What houses are on it and why? We had a guy and 2 girls order separately, then grab the pizzas and run. The girls had picked the food up and left, while the guy was paying. After 30 seconds the guy bolted. It was a $100 order. My manager, who is a frequent gym goer, leapt the counter and gave chase. The 2 girls had gotten into a car with the food, but when they saw my manager they drove off leaving the guy. My manager chased him 3 blocks and was gaining on the guy when the girls pulled up and the guy got into the car. Unfortunately, all 3 of them went to school with a kitchen hand at the store, so we had names, jobs, addresses, and Facebook accounts. We contacted them all on Facebook and got them to pay for the pizzas the next morning under threat of contacting police. We also put them on the no delivery list. I'm imaging Arnold Schwarzenegger chasing Jonah Hill around and I'm laughing. Tie. I delivered for a while in college, and there was 2 we don't deliver their neighborhoods. The manager actually allowed it to be driver's choice, but pretty much everyone said no. I actually had a friend who grew up in one of these neighborhoods and I knew it wasn't just drug dealing murdering psychopath running rampant, so I said yes, and I delivered to these neighborhoods. One time I was delivering to an apartment that was part of a triplex or quadplex and some kid outside, probably like 5 or 6 years old, stuck his finger at me and said, "This is a robbery. Give me your money." I just chuckled and kept walking. While I was giving the person their pizza I heard from behind me, "The heck do you think you're doing? Boy, don't you know he the only one who deliver here?" Then as I was walking back to my car he was standing on the sidewalk, mom several feet behind him, and he said, "I'm sorry. It's really cool that she realized you were the only person willing to deliver there and corrected her kid." Okay, we had a really nasty apartment complex in one area of Sacramento. Totally a no. One night a new guy took an order and actually accepted one from there. I was about to call back and say no. I was assistant manager at the time, but running pizzas that day, when in come 2 cops to pick up their pizza. They listen in and offer to tag along. I was dumb and crazy then, so we made the pizza and I loaded into my little truck and drove out there. As soon as we pull into the parking lot, the cop turns off all his lights and coasts into the spot next to mine. I walk up, start the spiel, and start listening to their story of this guy or that guy ordered it. I started to walk away and one of the shady dudes steps out of the bushes next to me, where he'd been hiding. Instantly, every light came on the cop car. Flashes, both spotlights pointing right at me. The cops getting out of the car. Fast. Dude steps way back. I walk back to my car, and a couple cops got an extra free pizza that night, and I got a great story. When I worked at a pizza place, we just had one person that we wouldn't deliver to because he would always refuse to pay and hassle the delivery guy, saying the pizza was cold, took too long, wasn't the right order, whatever. He probably got a couple free pizzas at least before we stopped bothering sending him anymore. I used to deliver sandwiches for a shop. We had to blacklist this one lady who would call up last minute and demand 5,100 sandwiches for her meetings and she wanted them delivered in 15 minutes. We explained things to her over and over again that this was not how it worked, but she still demanded her order. So, when it showed up 45 minutes later than expected, she became a monster, causing a scene, not tipping, sending in complaints to the district manager, etc. This happened so many times, and finally, one day, she called in an order for 200 sandwiches, wanted it in 15 minutes. I delivered it myself and she took the sandwiches from me for her meeting. I sat there and waited for her to sign the receipt, and waited, and waited. Turns out, she took the sandwiches into her meeting and booked the heck out of there, not signing the receipt. She then called her bank to cancel the charge on her card and called us in for fraud. She had the nerve to call up our district manager and said that we owed this to her since all of her orders were late. She was blacklisted after that and my district manager finally apologized for not believing me on this story. Drug reps are the worst. I probably would have followed her inside for that signature. I worked at a Little Caesars when I was a teenager. On a really snowy night, one of our drivers got into a car accident and sadly lost his life on his way to deliver the pizza. The customer called in a little while after we learned about the accident and absolutely lost his crap that his pizza hadn't been delivered. When the manager explained the situation, he stated he did not give a frick and wanted his pizza delivered for free. Needless to say, he got an earful from my manager and then was put onto a no-serve list. Apparently our entire complex is on the do not deliver after dark list at a local pizza place. That was encouraging to find out a week after moving in. That sounds like a good way to vet a new apartment complex. Call local delivery and see if they go to that address at night. Our delivery store has a woman who used to come in every so often, or order delivery, who did not want black people to interact with her or her food at all. One of our drivers, a really nice old black dude, delivered to her, and she simply slammed the door in his face. Another time, she walked out on a black cashier because she swapped places with the white driver who was originally taking her carry-out order. Finally, the manager put his foot down and told her not to come back or order from us ever again. Ugh. I am on the no delivery list of 2 restaurants because my roommate is a freaking idiot and can't math to save his life. He once sent a driver away after a heated conversation with a 25-cent tip. Unfortunately, I was in the shower at the time. It wasn't until afterwards that he was explaining the situation to me that I realized what a moron he was. The bill came to $20.25. He gave the guy $20 and thought it was a good tip because we ordered 2 sandwiches that were basically $7 a piece and a $1 soda for a total of $15, so $5 tip. In actuality, the sandwiches were $7.99 and the soda was $1.99, so $18 right there. Then there was a $2.25 delivery fee, so $20.25. Unfortunately, the delivery guy spoke almost zero English, so all he could say was not enough to my roommate, and my roommate is an ashat who wouldn't read the damned receipt. He is no longer allowed to answer our door. I used to be a delivery driver for Pizza Hut. I used to work the Sunday afternoon shifts and would have the same man order a supreme pizza every week. I was always the one to deliver his order because most of the time I was the only driver on duty at that time of day. Alan was a nice, quiet man who had a lovely front porch. One day, I didn't take his delivery for some reason. Poor Marvin took the delivery instead on the day that Alan decides to open the door stark naked. Alan wanted to show me, a small red-headed girl, the goods. Not big black Marvin. Alan never got another delivery. Haha, that's awesome. I used to deliver Meals on Wheels and it's amazing how many guys would try to pull crap like this. Yes, I worked for a pizza place in high school. One of my friends was killed during a delivery. Apparently, the husband had been in trouble before for domestic violence or something. I heard stories about the wife answering the door with fresh blood on her face, black eyes, that sort of thing. A couple other guys actually called the cops after delivering their pizza. Anyways, my friend shows up to deliver the pizza and I guess the husband thought he had called the police a few nights before. The husband shot and killed my friend. There was an older man who suffered from dementia that would order 4 fountain drinks and nothing else from my shop, then would tip about $300 every time. After hearing about it a couple times, I told my manager, and we all agreed to get in contact with his family, let them know we wouldn't take orders from him, and that they'd have to take some measures to keep him from doing the same with other establishments. God only knows how much money that guy gave away. That was kind of you. A lot of other people would have kept taking advantage of that situation. Don't work there anymore, but we had a nasty 50-plus-year-old woman that would always answer the door naked who was blacklisted, and a 5-block area we wouldn't deliver to because it was the ghetto capital of our city and people had been robbed. I delivered pizza in NJ. I went on the porch to see a snarling Rottweiler behind the door. Not a big deal. Happens a lot. I'm a stranger, the dog is just being a dog. The lady pushes him back. We do the pizza transaction and as I'm turning to go the lady said, "Oh my god, He's out. The back door was open and the dog was charging around the house about to come on the porch. I quickly opened the door to run inside, but the lady screamed no. The really bad one is inside and I see a bigger Rottie just inside the hall, so I stick myself between the screen door and the real door and I'm trapped in an angry dog sandwich. The outside dog bites my calf because I can only close the screen door so much. Not much damage, but I'm bleeding. The manager goes to talk with the lady. It is like 1/8 of a mile from the store or that lazy bastard wouldn't have bothered. And Rotties are penned up out back. As soon as the lady starts talking to him, another small mutt dog zips out the door and bites him on the hand. He made the call on no more pizza for them. I shouldn't laugh, but the really bad one is inside is a brilliant line. We marked off an entire section of town on the big map in the back of our store because there were too many shootings and murders in the area. Some parts of that section we would go to if it was daylight, but wouldn't deliver to after dark. Others we just didn't go to at all. It was such an exciting way to make money during college. Our greedy butt owner refused to develop such a list, even after 2 of our drivers were mugged at the same house. They wouldn't let us avoid neighborhoods, no matter how unsafe, no matter what time of day. Neither snow nor rain nor heat nor robberies nor gloom of night stays these couriers from the swift completion of their appointed rounds. Worked at a Hungry Howie's Pizza in college. They are basically a cheap, discount pizza chain. We had a few stores in a college town. Mine served the local college campus and the areas out west and south. These included the bad parts of town. We had a list of about 10 or so neighborhoods or streets we did not deliver to because drivers had been robbed, one of which was a rather large government housing project. That never went over well when I had to explain it to people. They often bitched me out like it was my idea or called me a xenophobe. We also refused to hire female drivers because of an incident before I was hired. A group of people made multiple fake calls throughout the night to different addresses until the female driver showed up. When she did, they kidnapped her and violated her for days. She lived. The cops spotted the car a couple of days later with 4 of her attackers in it. It was in Florida. Another story. One of our drivers was a kind of crazy homeless guy who had some anger management issues. One time a dude pulled a shotgun on him while he was still in his car. He was having a bad day, so he just grabbed the barrel, pointed it forward and floored the gas pedal. He also used to sunbathe in his white briefs in the nasty parking lot behind the store while laying out on old pizza boxes. Kidnapped and violated. What the frick? In the late 90s I was still living in Detroit and in between desk jobs, so I delivered pizza as a part-time gig. Detroit's neighborhoods have been rough for a few decades now, but the 90s seemed like they were on their own level. I won't say the specific neighborhood, but there were some really rough ones. This one house, though, this house was just in awful shape. I kind of figured this would be bad even as I was driving down the street to get there. Every other house, literally, was either burned out or very obviously abandoned. This one was just crappy looking, but I tried to be optimistic. I walked up to the door, awning kind of drooping over my head, and knocked. Almost instantly, the door cracked open, and all I saw was a dark hand with what looked like a Glock. Leave the pizza and walk away. I complied, obviously, and told my manager that I wouldn't be delivering to that neighborhood anymore. Still stuck around with that job for another 6 months or so, but that was probably the only thing on that level I've seen. We had a few blacklisted numbers addresses. Mostly were for people who wrote bad checks or would constantly complain, return orders, make threats. One address that was on the absolute edge of our delivery area, a business all by itself on the edge of town, got blackballed because people from outside the delivery area would give that address and meet us there. A couple of bad neighborhoods, including one that was literally 6 dilapidated trailers in the middle of a field with a 2-track going back to it, nothing but sickheads with pit bulls and rotters with no leash, were blacklisted too. My house was actually on a no delivery list back when I was a kid. Mom ordered pizza. Parents took some. By the time the pizza guy came by, my mother and father were so out of it, they couldn't pay the pizza guy. He waited for 40 minutes. Us kids had to apologize to him because we couldn't pay him ourselves. A very embarrassing moment to have when you're 10 years old. Anyways, we couldn't order from that pizza place for the rest of its existence. No child deserves to grow up without pizza. One time I worked for this lady that owned Narden's Pizza in Atascadero, CA. She was the worst person ever. No one ever worked there longer than a couple months, and she just crap on everybody. She didn't have a no delivery list, but what she did have that was even worse was her own personal whitelist delivery book that had every single good tipper in the world on it. Example: delivery boy gets back and goes, "Well, that guy tipped me $20. Owner then writes down that order name number in her book. Next time that guy calls to order a pizza, she doesn't let anyone else deliver. She takes the delivery. No one knew this trick, and she just kept taking orders from all the newbies. I worked there for about 4 months and caught on after the first month or so. After that I spent the next few months claiming that the horrible tippers were amazing tippers. I would watch her go to these repeat customers and come back with a disgusted look on her face. I would ask her what's wrong, but she didn't want to talk about it. TLDR. Pizza owner would write down all the big tippers. She would only deliver to them, not share tips or nothing. I eventually started claiming the people that tipped horrible to be amazing tippers. Hilarity ensued. This needs to go in our Peter Avengers a standalone post. My house got put on the deliver first sort of list because we ordered so much and so often. Eventually, they would know people's phone numbers and knew the address automatically and sometimes give us a discount. It's not official, but there's a house in my area that times you for your tip, which we would be pretty p about normally, but he's a good sport about it, and an average run over there will get you about $7, so we always book it over there first if we're taking more than one at a time. Worked at Papa John's. The only place on the no delivery list were bounced checks. We had one driver get his knee bashed sideways with a baseball bat and money stolen. I delivered to the same place the next night. They didn't care about getting robbed because the driver is only supposed to have $25 max on him all times. So everything over that $25 the driver had to pay for. This driver I think had to pay around $125 after being assaulted. I wanted to clarify about carrying cash. We were told, for this very reason, that after every delivery, usual 2-3 houses, when you come back to the store you put all money in your drop box. Obviously if you got $60 cash on a delivery, the store wouldn't make you pay for that, but they had a record of how much the order was and how they paid. Delivered pizza in high school. Living in NY, there was a couple neighborhoods that we had to be escorted by police who were permanently stationed on the corners there. When you got to the building we had to wait in the security booth that had bulletproof glass. This was all because people would call delivery places and just rob the people of the money they would carry. Sometimes the cars too. Yo, I am hungry and need money, order some pizza. That's a wicked 2 for 1. Prior to my freshman year of college, 2002, I was delivering pizzas for Pizza the Hut in a decent suburb outside of Cleveland. I was the typical stoner partier easygoing delivery guy. As a little background, one afternoon my manager requested I go change several $100s for smaller bills for our register. As I'm leaving the bank after getting change and getting into my car, I sense someone approach from behind and suspect they are going to ask me for a cig. Nope. Instead it's a dude with pantyhose and his head and a knife and demands the money I have in my pocket and my keys. I oblige and he ultimately runs off and tosses my keys in the parking lot where I can see. When I run into the bank, no one at all saw the incident, and wouldn't you know, when they pull the footage there is Sungler in the exact spot on the window where my car was parked. The cops interrogate me and search the car, but seem to conclude that in fact I was telling the truth. My manager even vouched for me, saying how I was a good kid. Flash forward to about 10 years and I'm telling the story at a party and bam, it hits me. My manager, who often dated unsavory characters, set up the whole thing. Considering I was robbed in front of a bank in broad daylight on the busiest street in my town, who the heck would know to rob me, especially since I hadn't put my car topper on at this point. That's fricked up. I delivered to the dorms when I was in college, back before credit cards could be used to pay for pizza. In the largest men's dorm, we had a war with some of the residents after they got pee when we wouldn't accept an expired coupon for a 14 pizza order. So they kept calling us up with ghost orders and making life heck for us over the course of a few weeks. So we stopped delivering to anyone in that dorm, as we were the cheapest pizza in town. That did not go over well with them. The Ras got every student in that dorm together and told them to knock it the frick off or get kicked out. So we tried to deliver again and the same crap happened. So we banned that dorm forever. It was cool by me because those idiots would place 5.20 pizza orders and tip $2. It was the mid-80s and there was no caller ID. Most of the students used the wall of pay phones we had in the lobby, but some rooms had their own phone. Regardless, there was no way of knowing who was calling. No one deserves to be deprived of pizza, except those guys. Such buttholes. A co-worker and friend of mine got a delivery one night. Before he left, our manager pulled him into the office, gave him a pair of latex gloves and instructed him to use them to put the money in an envelope. He was confused but didn't ask many questions. He says when he got to the house, there was actual caution tape around the yard and a sign that said something like warning, infestation. He is somewhat of a germaphobe to begin with, so at this point he really does not want to go up to the door, but he has to deliver this pizza. The woman who answers the door is grotesque and is covered in red splotches and potentially bites of some kind. He quickly hands her the pizza, carefully takes her money with the gloves on and stuffs it in the envelope, and sprints back to his car. He threw a fit when he got back to the store, and the manager felt so bad she put the house on the blacklist. He said he scrubbed his hands till they were red afterwards. Thinks it was bedbugs or scabies or something. We'll never know. That is a horrible situation. But looking at it from the woman's point of view, she can't leave to get her own food, and she had the decency to warn the store when she called. I had a roommate that ordered from one of my favorite Chinese places around. He ordered then fell asleep. Pee them off hard. They wouldn't deliver to me anymore, so I had to go into the restaurant, speak with the owner, and beg to get him to deliver to me anymore. I had a code word that they knew, and if I didn't give that code word, no delivery. My roommate was a piece of crap and stole all my pots and pans when he moved out. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.